RPN is not responsible for the views, actions, opinions, or statements of its guests, advertisers, or even you, the viewer. The information on this program is not to be construed as medical or legal advice. An appearance on this show is not necessarily an endorsement, and as always, we encourage you to do your own research. Enjoy the show. Good afternoon, Patriots. And welcome to another edition of Occam's Razor. As always, I'm your host, RP. Joining me live in the studio is my co-host and good friend, M3. At least I know you guys can hear me, right? We have a host of subjects to discuss today, not least of all, the fact that the question was asked yesterday. And of course, all the talking heads have their take, a hot take on what's happening in this movement. Please, everyone, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a brief word from our sponsor. Well, friends, there's a famous old saying that goes, "May you live in interesting times." And we certainly are. Our world is so sharply divided right now, even our basic American right to free speech is under a heavy attack. In fact, my channel here is being suppressed. I've been shadow banned, and it's because I'm not politically correct. If they want to take it all away, you might wake up one day and find that you can't see my content anymore. Perhaps nobody will, unless you know to look for me. It's a sneaky, underhanded form of censorship, and it's all because certain people don't like what I have to say. Now, since I depend on revenue from the product partners I promote, if no one can find or see my content anymore, then I'm out of business. Goodbye, Red Pill News. I certainly hope that never happens, but these days, anything can go wrong at any time. And that's why I teach self-reliance and emergency preparedness, especially when it comes to your food, water, and other vital necessities. As you know, I fully endorse the products from My Patriot Supply, and the advertising revenue I receive in return helps me pay my bills and enables me to keep bringing you great content like this. But any day now, that might stop. So please prepare in advance. I'd like to make a special request. If you've been planning to buy from My Patriot Supply, but you've been putting it off, now is the time to act while you still can. If you've already purchased what you need, I want to thank you sincerely. But as you can see, for the time being, the future isn't looking much better than what we've just been through. Frankly, it's probably going to get a lot worse leading up to the election. And that's why I urge you to take a moment right now and go to preparewithredpill78.com and make your purchase while you still can. My Patriot Supply is the only source I personally use and trust, and you can too. And right now you can save $100 off a full 4-week supply of delicious, nutritious meals your whole family will love. My Patriot Supply makes it easy to be prepared at all times, and saving $100 off a life-saving 4-week supply of food is too good a chance to pass up. The future is so uncertain, I urge you to go to preparewithredpill78.com and get ready now. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. Do it now, and remember, when you support my sponsors, you support this channel. All right, welcome back, Patriots. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please give me a 5x5 in the chat if you can hear my voice right now. It was working at the start of the show. Mute has not been pressed. In fact, there is no mute on my channel. I am no longer ever, for the history of my channel or the future of my channel, going to mute. So please tell me you can hear me in the chat right now. Give me a 5x5 if you guys can hear me. And thank you, Jesus, it is true. My microphone works, at least for the time being. Methods, how are you today?
Man, I'm doing just as good as your microphone right now.
Good.
Yeah, well, we have a lot of energy and excitement from yesterday, everything
Certainly.
going on. So, oh man, woke up in a good mood, been enjoying the chaos online and just taking it easy.
Yeah, per the usual, Twitter is the average everyday dumpster fire of the social media world, and I'm sure it's probably much the same way on places like Facebook and, even on YouTube. The comment section on YouTube is notorious in the same way that Twitter and Facebook is. However, we finally had the question asked to the president yesterday, and he gave, I think, the best answer he could have. I was in the video yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, Methods, but I addressed the earlier question by the same reporter. And I think that for a long time, people in this movement, people watching this show, we were waiting for POTUS to answer the question as confirmation of what was happening. And he did not disappoint. I don't think it was necessary for him to come out and say, this is real, this is happening. He said it in such a way that everybody who understands got the picture. And he left that reporter speechless. How many times do you hear a reporter in the press corps ask a snarky question in that way, receive a cogent answer from our commander-in-chief, and then sit there just, probably with her jaw hanging open. I couldn't tell because she was wearing a mask, but she had no quirky, snippy follow-up for him. I thought that his answer was perfect.
Right. I mean, because they're trying to get that sound bite.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to get him doing something basically praising us. And so they're all listening and paying attention and thinking about what they're going to be able to air on the news later. And he didn't give it to them, but he said just enough that I feel confirmation. I feel like we were patted on the back. It was handled correctly.
Yeah.
He kept saying, I don't know much about it, which is good for him to say because we are right before an election. And we all talk about something going down beforehand to take us down with it and tie it to the president.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a smart thing for him to say now. And I imagine we're going to start getting more and more stuff coming from our favorite Anon here in the future that's going to be more so dragged into the mainstream and as proofs or whatever. And then Trump can be like, oh, well, yeah, I heard about that. And now it's fresh. He can now have a dialogue about anything going on with our favorite Anon. So it's a really cool setup. And I do agree that he danced around it perfectly. And I was even watching like the Blue Check Brigade on Twitter saying this is definitely a win to the QAnon people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Now, the thing that really saddened me was that I had a migraine yesterday. The last couple of days have been really tough. My daughter was in a hit and run accident. Somebody hit her and drove off. There was some type of mistake with our insurance. She has a car that she's recently gotten a loan for, and it's her first nice car that she's paying for all on her own. And for some reason, the insurance company listed her as an excluded driver, which means that she has absolutely no coverage if she's driving the car and something happens. And it was really stressful. Tuesdays and Thursdays are probably the hardest days for me because I'm doing back-to-back shows and I have a very, very tight schedule. So I had to get that fixed immediately after doing the first show here, Occam's Razor, and then preceding my my next show. And I was livid, okay? I'm not going to lie. I lost it on Tuesday. And the insurance company at first kind of balked at the prospect that they had screwed up. They were like, oh, well, we're going to have to go over all your call records and all the notes we've ever taken. And I was like, if you could look me in the eyes right now, you'd see how angry I am. I said, how much sense does it make to make my daughter the excluded driver on the car that she owns and that she's the only one who drives? It just simply doesn't. So that had to be sorted out. And then the rest of the day, basically dealing with that. Then I woke up yesterday and I had a migraine from the moment I woke up. I was able to do the show, but as soon as that was done, I collapsed in bed. And then while I'm asleep with a migraine, POTUS gets the question asked and then answered. So I woke up, probably about...
During the pandemic, the QAnon...
Accidentally started playing the clip. I woke up at about 9:30 and I saw all of these messages, all of this celebration from people. And, just in case, like I always say, you were living in a hole and you didn't see the big news yesterday, let's go ahead and watch the clip here.
During the pandemic, the QAnon movement appears to be gaining a lot of followers. Can you talk about what you think about that and what you have to say to people who are following this movement right now?
Well, I don't know much about the movement other than I understand they like me very much, which I appreciate. But I don't know much about the movement. I have heard that it is gaining in popularity, and from what I've heard, these are people that when they watch the streets of Portland, when they watch what happened in New York City in just the last 6 or 7 months, but this was starting even 4 years ago when I came here, almost 4 years, can you believe it? These are people that don't like seeing going on in places like Portland and places like Chicago and New York and other cities and states. And I've heard these are people that love our country and they just don't like seeing it. So I don't know really anything about it other than they do supposedly like me, and they also would like to see problems in these areas, like especially the areas that we're talking about, go away, because there's no reason the Democrats can't run a city. And if they can't, we will send in all of the federal, whether it's troops or law enforcement, whatever they'd like, we'll send them in, we'll straighten out their problem in 24 hours or less, okay?
All right, and then there is a follow-up segment right here, just a second.
Belief that you are secret. At the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind? Or
well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there, and we are actually. We're saving the world from a radical left philosophy that will destroy this country, and when this country is gone, the rest of the world would follow. The rest of the world would follow. That's the importance of this country. And when you look at some of the things that these people are saying with defund the police and no borders, open borders, everybody just pour right into our country. No testing, no nothing. You talk about testing, no testing. Mexico, as you know, has a very high rate of infection. The wall is now going to be next week 300 miles long. Our numbers are extraordinary on the border. And this is through luck, perhaps, more than talent, although the talent is getting it built when one party refuses to allow it. You don't hear talk about the wall anymore. But I will say this, we need strength in our country, not weakness. Too much weakness. Yes, John?
All right, so he does not specifically address what she said. She wanted him to either accept or refute her framing of the movement. And he turns it around and says, is that a bad thing if I'm saving the world? And that, yes, in fact, I am saving the world. And this is what we're saving the world from. He paints us as patriots, as people who love the job he's doing, as people who want to save our country and this entire global community. It was an absolutely perfect question. I mean, we've often said it had to be asked and answered in the right way. This was the absolute best way possible this could have happened.
I totally agree. And just like how Mark was bringing up in the chat, like he did answer essentially how it was asked in the form of they try to blame the blowing up of this movement, the growing of this movement on the Rona, and people having free time and being bored at home and wanting answers for things, and we hijacked it all with information or misinformation is what they want people to believe. So answering it as we don't like seeing things going on in these states when it comes to the riots, the protests, how things are being handled, fits in the context of what she was asking. But then he would say like, and other things. They just don't like seeing some things that are going on. And it's a throwaway statement. It could be taken in any way, but you know, he's talking to us as well because he knows that we're all paying attention. The whole world was paying attention. When that was said, if you were doing something, you dropped it and you looked at your TV screen if you were just listening. Like, he said that he doesn't know that much, but then he rattles off things like, they like me very much. I hear they like me very much.
All the positive stuff.
Yeah, I heard that it's gaining popularity. These are people that don't like seeing what's going on. And, you know, as far as the saving the world thing, like you said, you know, that's the best answer is in answering back in the form of a question. Like, would it be that bad if I was? And it totally discredits what they're trying to say. And have any of y'all stepped back, and I'll ask this in the chat, have any of y'all stepped back and said they actually had to legitimately ask the question because they created the narrative about satanic PEDOs, cannibals, in a press conference with the president of the United States, and it was answered with a straight face? That to me is like the timeline that we're living in is definitely not boring.
Not boring at all. And, you know, regardless of how the press wants to frame it, he just gave them essentially the best possible soundbite. And you know what's interesting is that the coverage that I've seen on this, they've chopped it up and they haven't really given the full clip. You know, I mean, like obviously you put the full clip out there, but the segment that I saw on some mainstream media outlets like CBS, I saw had done a little thing about it. But basically they said president praises, you know, conspiracy theory. And then they gave like a tiny little clip. But they can't afford to put the whole thing out there. They have to chop it up so that they can try to manipulate the story in some way. But this is just the best possible thing that could have happened, guys. Now, of course, the never-Trumpers and the neocons out there, they are trying to put their own spin on it. Ari Fleischer, former press secretary for George W. Bush, famous warmonger, said POTUS would be better off denouncing this movement. They're a bunch of wackadoodles. Both parties have nutty fringe groups. The USA does best when leaders in both parties keep the sentiments of those people on the fringes. We are not the fringe at all. We are the majority of the party. We're people who have woken up after being lied to our entire lives. And for Ari Fleischer to try to marginalize us by framing it in that way, you know, Methods had it smack on. He said, writing off everyone that pays attention to this movement as a wackadoodle is both dismissive and arrogant. And Betsy Floss had some thoughts on the way that POTUS answered the question. She said, see, here's this thing. When you don't know about something, you say, I have no idea. Next question. We've seen him do it before. In fact, he gave her 2 questions. And you don't describe the followers as patriotic, love their country, love POTUS if you don't know that to be true. So clearly, POTUS let us know that, yes, he's well aware of this movement, well aware of the things that we're talking about, because there's the same thing that he's talking about, you know? And here's the other thing. Not every single person in this movement has the same set of beliefs or even ideals. We have a set of core beliefs. We have a set of core directives and missions that we're working towards, but everyone has their own little niche area that they're particularly more invested in or, you know, involved with. And that's why POTUS said it in the way that he did. Everything that he said perfectly aligns with our core directives and our core beliefs. And then everybody else, every single person in here in this movement, they've got their own things that they're interested in, which are kind of like offshoots, branches of this movement. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's why they have to label the entire thing with the most, I guess, using the word fringe, the most, I guess, extreme thoughts and theories that might be out there that might not be accepted by the full, you know, or the mass majority, but they take that and then they label everybody with it. And that's how they sell the narrative to the public, because they have to, because they're dealing with this enigma of discussions, debates, ideas, throwing things out there, having them work together. That's having the public do the work that the reporters should really be doing behind the scenes when they're actually doing investigations, to come to their conclusions with evidence and then bring it to the public. We are their competition, and we also call them out on their lies and garbage. So of course they hate us. So they just call us the worst things. They have their bullet points that they've created over time. We've seen it happen, anybody who's OG in this, and they just rattle those things off. But with that happen, watching Twitter yesterday and just going through the whole blue check brigade of what they were saying, they were losing their minds. And even Jeb Bush, I don't know if you saw the tweet, Red Pill.
Oh,
but
no.
even he, and I'll pull it up real quick because he doesn't tweet that much, which doesn't hurt my feelings one bit.
Right.
But he retweeted the video, and then he said, "Why in the world would the president not kick QAnon supporters' butts? Nut jobs, racist, haters have no place in either party." And that's what he had to say. And, you know, I don't really care. And he's got 23,000 comments that I imagine are a lot of people giving them a piece of their mind. But if it's that big of a deal to where we have Jeb Bush talking on it, we've got, you know, Jack Pacific was losing his mind. And, you know, which we all have. Anybody who wants to say that it's infighting for talking trash about Jack, you have to remember what we've gone through with him in the past. He's literally tried to take apart this movement, but having people lose it the way they have puts us in the spotlight, and it kind of just bends into the conversation of handling the news correctly, handling ourselves correctly, making sure we get things right, because we are under a magnifying glass more so on the public realm than we ever have before.
You know, and it makes perfect sense that President Trump would not disparage a large portion of his base, because then he would anger his most passionate supporters and people who are planning to vote for him. So Jeb Bush is afraid. All of these other establishment Republicans and Democrats are afraid. They know what's coming. I will remind you, Jeb Bush was there at his father's funeral when Laura Bush opened up that envelope and showed it to him. Remember the color draining from his face? This was like my first truly viral video, is covering the Bush funeral. And Jeb Bush, his hand drops from his chest. He just seems to deflate. He looks around. He's like, oh my God, what's coming for us? And all of them, the same type of look on their face. You know, Al Gore and Joe Biden, maybe they were a little more confused than other people. I saw this incredible clip on Tucker the other night. Tucker called, he said that Al Gore is looking increasingly like a wax effigy of himself because of the plastic surgery. Oh my God, I just loved it. But you know, even Fox News is getting in on the action. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip of Fox News trying to grill Kayleigh McEnany on the whole situation.
What is QAnon? It describes it as a right-wing group that believes President Trump is under assault by Satan worshipers, has made its way from social media into U.S. politics. Forbes says as of today, the president has retweeted 4 congressional candidates who have promoted their conspiracy theory. Ari Fleischer this morning saying that the president would be better off denouncing QAnon. They're a bunch of wackadoodles. Both parties have nutty fringe groups. The USA does best when leaders in both parties can keep the sentiments of those people on the fringes. Is the president supporting this conspiracy theory?
No, what the president is doing is working for the American people. The media talks a lot about this so-called QAnon. I've never heard the president mention it. I talk to him oftentimes 10 times a day. Not once have I heard him mention this group. The media talks about it and asks about it, but this president's focused on a pandemic that he's navigating a historic response for, a V-shaped recovery as the economy gets back to work. The media can focus on QAnon, but this president's focusing on the American people.
But just to be clear, Kayleigh, he was asked about it yesterday. He said he has heard about the online conspiracy theorists. His words were he has heard about them and that they are people that love our country. It was puzzling to many people.
He's talking about his supporters. He believes his supporters are good, hardworking people that love this country. He's not in the business of basket of deplorable politics. He doesn't talk about
Does he
QAnon.
want
He
the
doesn't think
support
about
of
it.
that group?
He has not at all looked into who QAnon is. Again, we're in the middle of a global pandemic that he's navigating a historic response for, an economic recovery. He's focused squarely on the American people, not some group on the internet or out there that the media tends to focus on far more than we believe is merited.
The FBI released a memo last year warning that QAnon's followers could be possible, quote, conspiracy theory-driven domestic extremists. So just to reiterate, the president did comment on it, saying that these are people that love our country. So if there's any further response from the White House, let us know. Final thought, Kaylee?
Yeah, there's a lot of children in this country who have died in the streets of Democrat cities. We're focused on capturing criminals. We're focused on navigating the pandemic. We're focused on the economy, not some group.
Elevating President Trump and his administration and his treatment of all of these various issues that have been tossed into the ring by the Democrats and the cabal, for lack of a better word. Everyone else is the problem here. It's not President Trump, and it's not everybody who supports him. They've been trying to claim that we were all of these terrible things from the very beginning. Basket of deplorables. From that moment when Hillary Clinton decided to toss the election into the trash can by framing more than half the country as just deplorable, awful people. President Trump cares about America. He's not going to dismiss the people who are his most ardent supporters. And by elevating him and his administration and what they're doing above this fray that the media is trying to create, and make no mistake, they are losing this narrative. President Trump and his supporters are the only people who are in charge at this moment in time. They are desperately seeking to grasp onto anything that will disparage us and disparage the president, and he is not going to allow it to happen. So I would say, let's make sure we're on our best behavior up until the election, because I don't think we need to do much more to cause the media to sink themselves.
Oh, I agree with you. And we also just need to be paying attention to the day-to-day as things come out, publicly, whether it's Durham stuff or investigations announced or indictments, which we're going to get into, the Bannon stuff here in a few.
Yeah.
We cover it, we go through the news, but we really just have this time period right now to obviously get anybody that you know to vote yourself. Make sure any narratives that the MSM is trying to do, we take it apart, but we kind of understand our marching orders at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So we get through this, and then we have a new horizon after the election, and that's going to be an interesting world for sure. And 2 points, but real quick, our buddy Hive just messaged me. Shout out to you for listening. He said, watching your screen, he said the amount of messages you have on Twitter is giving him anxiety, which is pretty funny. But as far as how Kaylee handled that, I like the way she's going about it. It's like, okay, yeah, that's not our focus. We're working on other things. We have this election. We've got these other things going on. We got the virus. But, she's acknowledging it, but she's not giving them any room to take it further.
Exactly.
So the extreme stuff that's being said that could be used is by the media. Now, is it unfortunate to watch Fox News just fall on their face and show who they really are more and more? Yeah, it is. But that's why we're here. That's why all these other channels are popping up. That's why OAN is there. Mm-hmm. Epoch Times, insert, whatever here. So we just have to allow them to, we have to let them keep doing what they're doing because it makes them look stupid. And I made the point earlier on Twitter because they paint us in this picture, in this box of being this crazy fringe conspiracy theory group. But if anybody takes the time to come watch maybe this show or other shows or watch a good discussion on Twitter, Facebook, Gab, whatever, they can see that we're trying to be logical, and we are logical about things, and we have no problems having these discussions. And we also all really love and care for each other. It's a movement that supports each other through the good and the bad. We celebrate when people get promotions or they have a child, their birthdays, because we have plenty of those happening every day. But then when tragedy happens or people ask for prayers, it jumps just as much too. So being an outsider coming in and they're being told that we're a bunch of crazy tinfoil people that are going to take over the world and destroy things, and we're such a problem, and then they see us all just care about each other and having good discussions and debate, that makes them say, well, I was just told by the mainstream media that y'all were crazy. And then all you have to do is say something and then you're accepted. So that's why we just have to keep doing what we're doing and make sure we're handling things and not giving them more bullet points to throw at us.
Yeah. So, now bringing these two subjects together, this and the issue with Goodyear had some documents released yesterday. They were leaked. And they have a policy, apparently, of not allowing people to wear political-type T-shirts and hats. So that's specifically outlawed as a Goodyear employee. You can't have Blue Lives Matter, All Lives Matter. You can't wear MAGA gear, but you can wear BLM stuff. Now, that's in direct contrast with itself, because BLM is clearly a political movement as well. So President Trump, he responded yesterday, and he told everybody to boycott Goodyear. And it didn't take long for the talking heads, people like Bill Kristol, to come out. He had to say something. Now, he said the President of the United States is attacking the Goodyear Tire Company and defending this movement. Jake Tapper, FBI, the deranged 17 conspiracy theory poses a potential domestic terror threat. Combating terrorism at West Point, it's a public security threat and potential domestic terror threat. Trump says these are people that love our country. Kyle Griffin, I have no idea who he is. Trump refuses to denounce one of the most toxic and dangerous conspiracies in America. I would say that that's liberalism, but Kyle and I disagree. He embraces this movement's support for him. He was told part of their belief system, and he didn't reject it. Well, that was what they say part of the belief system is. This is the leader of the Republican Party. That's correct. And then Ben Collins, another person I disagree with. If anyone is looking for a good explainer, go to Amazon.com, type in paint thinner, wait 2 days, unpack it, then just hang around the fumes for a while and write down the dumbest ideas that come to you before you pass out. That was original. Well, the stock of Goodyear plunged despite everyone's best efforts to try to bring the attention back onto this movement. President Trump told people to boycott Goodyear. I think there was probably a massive sell-off. And these people are now, I think, regretting their decision to ban messages that support our president and instead selectively choose a dangerous political movement that they want to elevate instead. I mean, I think over 30 people have passed away since the rioting and the unrest began. No matter what they do, they're never going to be able to pin stuff like that on us. I think they're going to try, all right, but that is not going to come out of this movement. We are not gathering in the streets, burning buildings. We are not destroying things. We are not tearing down statues. We are using our intelligence and our intellect to make coherent arguments and to bring this fight to the minds and hearts of people all across America and the world.
Yeah, but I mean, we do kind of set the internet world on fire. If you have to, we have to at least look at it that way, whether it's the memes and stuff like that. Because like what you just read from Ben, that was definitely just low hanging fruit style comedy that I would expect from the left. But that's why we like focus a lot on the digital world of things, because it's where the information is spread. That's where everybody's talking, and we're not hurting the real world as far as that real world as in offline. But the fact that they will not denounce, these different groups that are tearing things apart, but have no problem saying that we're basically that on the right, tells you all you need to know. Mm-hmm. And we just have to keep doing what we do. And then like our favorite Anon says, let them destroy themselves. Let them do this. Let's make fun of it, have fun, keep our discussions, paying attention to the news in real time. And, have these debates and have these conversations, and the rest of it, like they destroy themselves in their own actions if we give them enough rope.
And that's what they're doing. They are continuing to. They've been forced to support this violent movement every single day as things devolve to a greater and greater degree. That guy that we talked about the other day, Marquise Love that went after the trucker. I did a follow-up on that in my video on Tuesday. The trucker is out of the hospital. He's doing much better. And people have raised a ton of money for him, like $125,000 or $130,000. But Marquise Love is on the run. He is wanted by the police and I believe the FBI, and he's probably going to spend a significant portion of the rest of his life in prison. Now, these are the people that people like all of those tweets came from. That's who they support. They support the truly dangerous individuals that are out there in the street right now, burning minority businesses, destroying cities. And the people of these cities are seeing it happen. They say, well, gosh, if these people in this movement are really so crazy, then why aren't they out here destroying my shop? Why aren't they setting fire to my business? It's this other group of people that the left is supporting, that they're propping up, and that companies like Goodyear are trying to prop up. But the people are responding. The people are answering this call, and they're letting them know, get woke, go broke. It's happening in real time.
Yeah, that's probably the best tagline that we can use. It's easy to remember. And that's how this is. We don't go destroy their businesses and loot them. We just don't give them money anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole intention of them having these stores, is that, the profit, whatever they need to do. So if we're taking away that pipeline financially, then they learn, and they learn to not make these decisions again. Don't cross the people that are here and trying to make the country great. Mm-hmm. And it's so watching that happen on any of these cases. They attacked Goya, tried to boycott them for the wrong reasons. And just like a few people in the chat are saying, the truth always wins. With the truth is that Goya did nothing wrong except support the president. The My Pillow guy just got attacked on mainstream media. I don't even remember who was interviewing him. Was it Cooper? It was
Anderson Cooper.
Yeah, that was a mess. He was sitting there trying to attack a guy who seems nice as can be. His story is incredible. And now I'm sure his sales went up because I saw people saying, all right, time for me to buy a new pillow. Same thing that happened with Goya. I'm sure people that have probably never even tried it before or it's been a while as far as their products are now buying them pretty much regularly. So if that's the game and they want to play it, we're just going to stick with the truth, stick with our gut instincts, and support what needs to be what America is.
That's right. Vote with your wallet, folks. Do not support these leftist supporting businesses and companies. We need to put our money where our mouth is. And if we are going to be successful as business owners, as the next generation of people who are going to be delivering the truth, delivering the actual narrative, then we have to support each other, and we need to support businesses who are going to be supporting the president as well. So continue to do that, and I think that we're going to get along just fine. Now, the next story we're going to talk about, Steve Bannon, Brian Kolfage, and the We Build the Wall campaign. The people involved in that have just been indicted by the Southern District of New York. Southern District of New York, previously under Jeffrey Berman, was responsible for much of the legal actions going against President Trump, his family, his foundation, stuff like that. And now, despite having a new, U.S. attorney in charge there, we now have this case against Kolfage and Bannon. Now, obviously, I believe they are innocent until proven guilty, but I will say this. There was concerns about the way that the money from the We Build the Wall campaign was being spent from the very beginning. Now, back in, I believe, December of 2019, I covered this when it first broke out. And, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was December of 2019. And almost immediately, there was some question about the way that the money was going to be spent. Was it all going to go towards the wall? Or was Brian Kolfage, who is a disabled veteran, thank you for your service, Brian, or if Steve Bannon or other people involved in it were going to be getting a cut of the money? And they said publicly, all this money is going to go to build the wall. And they said that they had a better way to do it, that they were able to get it done faster, get it done cheaper, get it done better. And it apparently looks like that is not the case. The section of the wall that they built had to be investigated by the federal government. It looks like It was done in such a way that there was some erosion issues, which meant that the section of the wall they built was probably going to fall down at some point if they didn't fix it. And it also looks like Bannon and Kolfage took a large chunk of the money for themselves. Now, I believe it was like $25 million that was raised through this campaign. But then GoFundMe, they returned all the donations, or they were scheduled to return all the donations back in January. I'm sorry, it was December of 2018 this came out. And then in January, they said that they were refunding it because they didn't like the way that Kolfage was doing it. And then apparently they must have raised the money in another way. I think they went direct. And obviously that means that, the money was, being brought directly to them. Nothing was going to be taken out by GoFundMe. But they still said that they were going to spend all the money on the wall. So, now it looks like they've actually taken a good portion of it for themselves. We've got the actual indictment here from the SDNY, and it says that the defendants defrauded hundreds of thousands of dollars from donors, capitalizing on their interest in funding a border wall by raising millions of dollars under the false pretense that all the money would be spent on construction. Now, Kolfage looks like he was funneled money through Steve Bannon's nonprofit. $350,000 in funds. Now, when you look at $250 million, that's not a lot of money. Brian Kolfage, I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to receive some type of money for organizing this effort, but it does sound like he lied. The way that they're making this out to be, if he stated all the money was going to go towards the wall, then it all should have went towards the wall. If he was planning on taking a salary, all he had to do was say, I'm planning on taking a salary, especially given the amount of money that was put into this. But it wasn't just him. I mean, Steve Bannon also took hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it looks like his nonprofit actually received over $1 million from the campaign. Here's the thing. I mean, this is not out of the ordinary. This type of fundraising and paying people involved in the fundraising. This is totally normal. But I do think that the fact that Stephen Bannon, former Trump associate, the fact that he's involved, I think that's why they're choosing to go after him. What do you think, Methods?
Well, first off, I agree, and so does Z19 in the chat said this just doesn't look good. On the surface, it doesn't look good. And then when you throw in criminal indictment into the thing, that means that there's evidence. And I heard chatter about it being, they had the text messages of them saying things like, no, we're not going to show any of the numbers publicly on where we're spending this money. We're keeping it private. That's the kind of stuff to where if it looks like they're hiding it, and they probably have more evidence to go that far. I haven't looked all the way into this, but just like you said, this is definitely going to be a bullet in the chamber of the left's gun, because they're tying it directly. They did it in the presser earlier. I don't know if you caught it, but Trump did a quick presser with what was that? I guess the leader of Iraq. Maybe the chat can help me out real quick. I tuned in late, but they were asking him about it at that moment, and he said, the way the reporter was even saying it, he named off Manafort, Flynn, Stone, all these people that have been caught up, Cohen, that have been caught up in this, investigations, are getting in trouble, found guilty, going to jail. And they were trying to paint it on, what does this say about you, Trump, for the people that you circle yourself with? And so you already know that's the narrative spin on this stuff. So it's very unfortunate. Yeah. But you know how anybody who's been listening to us for a while know that and especially, people that have been involved in this for a while know that we want justice and for people to be held accountable on either side, of all sides. It's not about left or right here. It's about people making decisions, and if they're breaking the law, there needs to be consequences. And we always say, if it happens on our side, quote unquote, then that's fine. We support it. I support it in this case too. If they did, give them their moment in court, let the evidence be shown, and if they are guilty, let them get the punishment that fits the crime. Let them fulfill that punishment, and then go on with their lives. And so the fact that it was Bannon, it's unfortunate. The timing is suspect because we're a few months away from the election. It's yet another thing that helps the Democrats. as far as their narrative on how Trump's a mess. But then again, we'll see. And I mean, I saw other people who know of that. What did you say his name was? Kolfage?
Yeah, Brian Kolfage.
Kolfage, yeah. There was people saying that they were saying back then that Bannon shouldn't even been working with this guy. I don't know him, but they said it was suspect back then. Trump even said that. Now, somebody in the chat was asking, Montana Anon said, is that the part of the wall that fell down recently? And I was going to ask you, was that the part of the wall that fell?
Well, I mean, I don't know that it fell down so much as it had some erosion damage. I haven't heard anything about it falling down specifically, but if there was a section that fell down, I want to say it probably was this section. Now, President Trump had a statement on Twitter. He said, I disagreed with doing this very small, tiny section of the wall in a tricky area by a private group which raised money by ads. It was only done to make me look bad, and perhaps it now doesn't even work. Should have been built like the rest of the wall, 500 plus miles. Now, let me see. I think, let's see. The 3-mile private wall that went up along the banks of the Rio Grande earlier this year was supposed to be a showcase for its politically connected builder, but it's already suffering erosion that experts tell me could lead to failure. So it looks like it is, not faring well overall. Now, this is from ProPublica. ProPublica is a leftist organization. Now, this was originally published on July 2nd, and it was updated on August 1st. The government has come out to assess this 3-mile span of the wall. They touted it as, it was going to be better. It was going to be cheaper. It was going to be faster. They were able to put it up. But, if it's having problems, it's having problems. It says when the river rises, it will likely attack those areas where the foundation is exposed, further weakening support of the fence and potentially causing portions to fall into the Rio Grande. So they're talking about potentially falling into the Rio Grande. The builder, Fisher, he did also receive a $1.3 billion contract from the federal government, and it was based on this proof of concept that they were able to put up using the money from the We Build the Wall campaign. So, Johnny Nonstop says the Bannon arrest will not slow down Trump's reelection. Bannon made his own bed, in my opinion, and I completely agree. I think they're hoping that it will slow down Trump's reelection. Like Method said, they are trying to get everybody around President Trump, and then they're going to say, well, all of these people are dirty, therefore Trump must be dirty as well. But like I said earlier, this is nothing new. There is a significant number of dirty people on both sides of the aisle. And if you take a look at any one person who is in power, who's in politics, then you're going to find a selection of real scumbags all surrounding them. Because the people that like to break the law in these public corruption type cases, they do it because they want power. They want to surround themselves with people that they think they can help get into power so that they can be close to it by association. Now, this kind of actually brings me to some of the new posts that we had last night. I think this is an excellent time to go ahead and bring this up. We got this post 4622 last night. Ask yourself a very simple question. Why is everything regarding our movement being censored, banned, and attacked? When do you expend ammunition and resources? When you're under threat, when you're under fire, when you have to respond to what's happening because they are losing the narrative. Now, the next thing we got was a post about Jeffrey's Island, and it says, who owns the surrounding islands? Close proximity. Unique skill sets of Maxwell. She was a helicopter pilot. She was an EMT. She's a submarine pilot. Well, it turns out that one of the islands very close to Jeffrey, this is the Terramar project, one of those islands very close to Jeffrey was actually owned by Joe Biden's brother. What is it? What's his name? Is it Jim Biden? I can't remember Joe Biden's brother's name. But submarine pilot, unusual, helicopter pilot, what benefit might that serve? Well, hopping from island to island, that would be extremely beneficial. So, and this is my point here. People in close proximity tend to be real slimy, and Joe Biden's brother is not immune to this, this concept of slime balls. Now, there's a lobbyist who actually bought this tropical island from Joe's brother, James Biden. I was right. And I think it's an interesting time, that it was sold off. It was earlier this year. It looks like he just divested earlier this year, but he bought it in 2005. I guess it was just an acre, 150,000 miles. Then he divided it into 3 parcels, and then it was eventually sold off. But, Joe Biden's brother buying an island very, very close to Little St. James Island, I think that's a little suspect. I mean, what do you think that he did? I wonder what type of connections to Maxwell he might have.
Right. Well, you know what they call that island, right? You know the name of it?
No, tell me.
Water Island.
Okay.
Watch the water. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not. Don't run with this full decode here, but think about it. If that's what we're needing to look for, and they understand, and because we all expected for our favorite Anon to show up and at least link to a video of the question being asked about, to the president.
Yeah.
Our favorite Anon moved on, and what did he move on to? When you have the most eyes coming to look at the posts, is this stuff right here, which makes it very fascinating, because when they said the investigations going on near the election are not about anybody that's running for president, right? His brother's not running for president. What if we were to get something like that to come out of an investigation over there, and then that directly falls in the lap of Biden? Mm-hmm. So just saying, when you see something like Water Island and that's the name of it, okay, we're going to ask a few questions about it.
Now, and here's the other thing, is that James Biden has been linked to issues of corruption the entire length of Joe's career. Both him and Hunter seemed to mysteriously get just, complete windfalls from the industries that Joe Biden was, having direct contact with and overseeing while he was in office. When he was running a banking committee, well, there were some loans coming through for James Biden. Also, Hunter starts working for MBNA. And then once Joe Biden is overseeing Ukraine, well, suddenly we have the Burisma situation taking off. So, there's lots of corruption surrounding all these political candidates, and they want to shift the perspective here and make you look at President Trump and say, oh, well, this is going to be another feather in the hat of these crazy leftists who, love to go back to the Manafort, what was his lawyer's name? I can't remember his name. Manafort Cohen stuff. And the next post is panic in D.C. Clearly, there is panic in D.C. after the question was asked last night. And then finally, we end with this 5th column post right there. Now, I love talking about this, but remember when President Trump came into office and he went to give that speech at Langley, and he told the clowns in America, I'm going to build you a new house without columns. He was talking about the concept of the 5th column. The 5th column is the group working inside, whether it's the government or, another government, and they're working to take it down from the inside. That's exactly what happened here. We've had a 5th column operating in America. Now, you go back to the McCarthy hearings, and J. Edgar Hoover, who had his own problems. He called communism a 5th column here in America. And I would argue that we are seeing the full revelation of that right now here in America with all of the unrest that we're seeing. Somebody is causing this. Somebody is orchestrating it. And, you've got all of these various splinter groups that are working to just destroy things from the inside. You put them all together and you've got the 5th column. And, there was something else interesting. The FBI put out a document release. Did you happen to see that, Methods? I'm hesitant to even talk about it. It was a little controversial.
No, I did not. But real quick before you move on, for anybody that doesn't know what 5th column is, it's a group within a country at war who are sympathetic to or working for its enemies, which is, the infiltration, not invasion idea. And then somebody in the chat, it just jumped from me. I hate it because I wanted to call it out. Spitfire 1592 in the chat, as far as the Panic in DC poster, says now playing on it. So just remember that we are in the middle of that right now.
In theaters now.
Right, yeah. So we're definitely seeing it, and it's going to be like that. It's definitely going to be interesting, definitely up till the election. And then I think, no telling what's going to happen after that. But yeah, man, go ahead. What was the FBI thing?
The FBI put out a tweet with it was the Protocols of Zion, which has always been framed as a like a conspiracy theory. I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I've always just assumed that it was because it was so inflammatory. But the FBI released it on their Twitter account without any fanfare, without any explanation. I thought it was very strange. And for all of these things to occur on the same day, man, it was weird. I'm not making any judgments about it. I'm just saying it was a weird thing for the FBI to do. And then people immediately jumped on it and asked, I think it was Mike Rothschild, or David Rothschild, asking if, this movement had hacked into the FBI's account and taken it over. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I wanted to read out. Now I know what you're talking about, and I wanted to go into it because wasn't there something like they said that it shouldn't have been released, but it was? I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, it's just another one of those things that we want to dig into.
Yeah.
And before we move on, I'm seeing almost 4,900 people here hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys spending this time. 1.7 thousand likes on my side, so if you guys don't mind turning that thumb blue, that would be great. And thank you guys for hitting us up on PayPal and Cash App.
Please do. Yeah, there's only a couple of donations, so let me go over these real quick. Dana, yes, I am going to call you later on tonight, bud. Thank you. Framinator said, what you do is good, and keep doing it. Hell loses. Thank you very much, Framinator. I appreciate your generous support. Chris says, thumbs up and USA. Appreciate you, Chris. And then Bruce, thank you very much, Bruce. No message there, but I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And then on PayPal, let me see if there's anybody on PayPal. Get this pulled up. Okay, so Suzanne from today, thank you very much, Suzanne. Yesterday, Joey, thank you very much, Joey. Eric 2 days ago, and then Royal Pools 2 days ago, as well as Deborah. So thank you very much. Deborah says, love your delivery. I appreciate you all. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. If you guys don't know, I have now put the donation links on the screen, paypal.me/redpill78news, and Cash App. My code is $redpill78. If you use Cash App, then there's no cut from the delivery of it. PayPal takes a cut. Unless you tell them that it's friends and family. There's a box you check, and it says, this is for goods or services. None of the donations are for goods or services. I'm not sending anything out. So if you guys would mind not clicking that box, it would help everybody out. Muffin just, hold on. Muffin just messed up the curtain.
Fantastic. Well, we do have some breaking news, and Red Pill's just going to have to deal with me giving it out right now.
What is it?
Headline from Breitbart: Hunter Biden to speak at final night of DNC. So they're actually going to have him come talk, and I'll drop this link in the chat for everybody to have. I find that fascinating and not surprising because they have to, like I've said earlier, whether it was on this show or on Methods to Madness, that they're having all these characters that need to be investigated or are being investigated speak at this, because now it's like, oh, it's political if anything were to go down this week. Because I mean, they would imagine, with the clients, they would have known that Kleinsmith was coming. They would have had to, but they're saying basically will deliver remarks during Thursday's edition of the Democratic National Committee, and Hunter and Ashley Biden will speak about their father. So we'll see what goes on with that. That'll be interesting. This is the first time that we're seeing him since that one only ABC interview when he got called out. So I'm very interested to see what he does there. It'll probably be, pre-recorded and all that stuff. But yeah, it's a card I expected for them to play. Yeah, definitely. So, another fluff job for his father and maybe another hit piece on President Trump. We had Michelle Obama repeating that same tired old narrative about kids in cages. Then we had a variety of other people speaking. And yesterday in the video, I talked about Elizabeth Warren speaking to the Native American caucus, which I feel was just extremely offensive after everything that she's done, pretending to be a Native American all these years. And then Barack Obama, he gave his address.
And, you know, he had this look of stress on his face. You know, Barack Obama has been, like, just famously cool under pressure. You know, they've always, you know, he's been, like, the penultimate speaker, the public speaker to beat all public speakers, and the left has just loved him for it. And the way that he was speaking in this speech the other night, I think it really betrayed a lot of, you know, anxiety in his face and his body language. You know, all he could talk about was how President Trump was not a good president. And, it really called back to the things that Michelle had said as well. And, you know, and I also, let me just play this initial clip, because the way that he talks about Joe Biden, it just, you know, it's clear that he doesn't want to support Joe Biden.
I never expected that my successor would embrace my vision or continue my policies. I did hope, for the sake of our country.
That's the only thing he says about Joe Biden. I never expected to embrace my policies. You guys were a team, right? Joe Biden was vice president to your president, Barack, and you never expected Joe to embrace the policies. I mean, that just sounds strange to me. You know, I mean, he doesn't praise Joe. He says, I never expected Joe to do this. And then he immediately goes into talking about President Trump and just trashing President Trump. This is not so much an opportunity for the Democrats to tell America why they need to vote for Joe Biden, only why they shouldn't vote for President Trump. And it just reeks of desperation.
100%. And I know I sent you that article because I saw it from The Atlantic. And we all know that they're lefty leaning. When Hillary actually talked about this movement, she ran over to them and gave the point. Well, they even called out how he looked frightened.
Oh, yeah.
And there was something about it. I tuned in for just a few minutes last night when I heard that he was talking, because obviously I was seeing on Twitter how everybody that, you know, I followed just was over it. And so I hop in for just a couple minutes, and you could just see the fear, just like Michelle Obama. You could see the stress in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so why would they be stressed out? Okay. Is it because they're really worried about 4 more years of Trump? Or what's the ramifications of Trump winning with all these investigations going on and all the crimes? He said earlier during the press conference, Trump said that they were completely lawless under Obama's presidency. And they know that all this is being rolled back and investigated into. And we're also working with foreign countries in investigations on some of this stuff, because they did these things internationally.
Oh, yeah.
Internationally. So you could just see it if you put it into the context of, they know that unless they get the wheel to the ship back and they can control things, then they're just in that much, their lives are over. It's going to be completely over. So that stress, I see a lot of people in chat saying it, you know, he does look, you know, 10 years older than he was when he was president just 4 years ago.
That's right. And Hillary Clinton also spoke last night. She also had a look of panicked desperation. Look at those eyes. Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those peepers? She said, we need numbers, overwhelming, so Trump can't steal his way to victory. Okay, so, you know, they need more Democrat votes than Republican votes. I mean, that's just obvious. But see, the thing is, I mean, we're not stealing anything. We're going to win this election fair and square. Hillary Clinton is still a sore loser. She cannot deal with the fact that Trump beat her the first time. She can't deal with the fact that Trump is going to win again. Second term president. Joe Biden wouldn't even be a one-term president. He would leave the presidency before the end of his first 4 years. She is pathetic. They are all pathetic. They are running scared. They are so afraid that Joe and Kamala are not going to be able to do this. And it's with good reason. I mean, the attendance at the DNC is anemic. The viewership on YouTube has fallen to all-time lows. You know, Kamala and Joe speaking on stage, it's just awkward. Now, at the end of Kamala's speech, there was silence, of course, because there's nobody there. she's at this virtual, convention, and she's speaking to a screen of people on a Zoom call. And I would, just point this out here. These are all Democratic delegates, or they should be anyways. And these are the people who are nominating Joe and Kamala for president and vice president of the Democrat Party. And, an announcement like this, a DNC convention, normally it would be flooding with people. And, I have to say, I don't think it's just because of CV-19. If there was no CV-19 and we had a convention hall filled with live bodies, I still think the attendance would be anemic, because record numbers of people are leaving the Democrat Party. Record numbers of people are walking away because of everything the Democrats are allowing to happen. And I have to go back to President Trump allowing them to destroy themselves. President Trump hasn't stepped in. He's offered numerous times, as he said when answering the question yesterday. He said, all you have to do is ask, and we will send in the National Guard, and it will be over in 24 hours. He has repeated that mantra on a number of occasions. The entire United States is aware that all these Democrat governors and mayors need to do is ask for help. But they never will, because they're so proud. They can't offer President Trump a single victory. But in doing so, they are handing him the victory of victories. President Trump will be reelected in November because he's the only person, the only politician here on the national stage that's willing to do what it takes to secure the safety and security of the American people. This is the job of the Democrat mayors and Democrat governors, to keep their citizens safe. It's President Trump's job to look after the entire country. He can offer as much assistance as these people will ask for, but they will never ask for it. And by doing so, they are digging their own grave. And the evidence is, clearly presented here in the DNC convention. The people that they have on during this convention, I mean, it's insane. Okay, you got people claiming that they are mermaids and unicorns, and openly talking about destroying our capitalist system and creating a socialist system in its place. I mean, taxing people into the poorhouse. Completely defunding the police. It's been said during this Democrat convention that they want to completely abolish the police. They want to abolish ICE. They want to abolish prisons. They want to abolish the courts. And this is coming from the mouths of people speaking at the Democratic National Convention. These are the people that they're appealing to. And the number of people that make up that group are getting smaller and smaller and smaller every single day. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris could potentially be the least electable candidates I've ever seen in my life. Certainly, they're the least electable candidates in this election.
I 100% agree. And if you want to pull up that picture of the people on the screen,
this is the killer.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to get even fake, actors to be up there and act excited about that. But and I'm glad that we had some people catch this, that you've got duplicates on the screen. So you're telling me you couldn't get 30 people to sit there and just be excited? Even people that just want to be on TV, just be seen by the world, and they had to do duplicates. That's just, how bad is it really if it's like that?
I mean, this just goes to show they don't have enough delegates to fill up the stage. They don't have enough people who are supporting of these candidates. They don't have enough people who want to openly, go out there and put their necks on the line and say, yes, Kamala, yes, Joe. So they've got, a number of people duplicated on the screen. It's sad. It's truly sad.
Right. Now let's get into the idea of like the comparing of 2016's numbers.
Yeah.
And where we are now, because this part's very fast. I don't have the link to share handy.
I've got it on screen. I will go ahead and drop it into the chat, you guys. This is how, we can prove the anemic nature of this convention. Their viewership has dropped by 48% from 2016. And that is among the top 6 broadcast networks: MSNBC, CBS, NBC, ABC, Fox, and CNN. They only received 6.13 million viewers combined during airtime of the convention this year. And that is a precipitous drop. I mean, if that happened in Hollywood to a movie, I mean, that would be considered a flop. And, they certainly wouldn't be making their money back. With this few people actually tuning in, it just proves how much larger our movement is. And, it's going to be even more obvious once the RNC is going to be put out there. And I would hazard a guess and say that they're going to show it on fewer channels, but that we're going to get even greater numbers of the RNC in its totality. These people are so scared right now. They know that they're going to lose. They know that President Trump has the numbers. They know that he has the support of the American people. They know that they've done it to themselves. And so the only thing they can try to do now is to smear him in as many ways as they possibly can. But it's not going to work. We've got nearly 4 years of proof behind us. President Trump has done a phenomenal job for this country. President Trump has been there for us as American citizens since the very beginning. He's the only one who's done what was necessary to try to make our country whole. And he continues to do so. Again, he has been elevated above the fray. The mainstream media is the problem. The Democrats are the problem. It's not the Republicans. It's not us. It's not his supporters. We care about this country, and we want to see it restored.
Exactly. And I have to give a hat tip to our buddy from Twitter, Mad Liberals, one of the greatest meme makers you'll ever see. He made it's kind of a joke, but is it really, that he did that pie graph on how many people, like what type of people were watching the convention. And then he has the majority, the 75% of it were meme makers watching it. Because that they're going to make fun of it. They're going to have fun. That's why I at least look at the highlights to just know what happened. How do I need to go about talking about it on shows? Mm-hmm. How can I poke holes in it for fun? Make sure everybody at least has that smile throughout the day. And that's why it's so important. And that's why I do talk trash on Twitter, just because I'm trying to at least make people on our side at least have a smile, because this is crazy right now. The world we're living in is really messy. And I'm trying to be nice using words on how to explain it. But, why would people tune in, even if you are a Democrat, even if you are quote unquote riding with Biden, then you're not going to get any joy watching what they're doing during these conventions. If your platform is why Trump is bad and not as much as why you are good. And then on top of that, if anything you're saying about you that's good doesn't really seem like that's true, then that's a problem. And like I said on my show yesterday, there's no way that we could sit here and buy the fact that they're allowing Jill Biden to speak to the character of her husband, because how many people out there would stand up, beside your husband or wife or whatever, when you aren't necessarily sure if they are the best at what they're saying? You're still going to show support and stand by their side. Why? Take her word for it at all. She's I don't know, man. I think we're at this point where I think everybody sees it. We need to get to the election, but they're not going to be able to pull this stuff off again. There's no way that America is going to allow them to go this far. And a second term of Trump, the first term salvage, save everything that you can, fix what you need to, get rid of what you don't need. Second term savage, and you go after it, and we fix this mess.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We're looking at a very bright future here for America, and the amount of progress we're going to be able to make in the second term is going to rival everything we've done here in the first term. I mean, by factors of 100. It's going to be an incredible 4 years coming up here, because once President Trump is in office, there's no do-over for these people. They're not going to be able to dethrone him, and he is going to be in a position to exert a greater amount of power than has already been shown. Now, somebody in the chat asked about the blockchain voting system. We talked about that on Tuesday, so go ahead and watch the episode from Tuesday. But back in 2019, February 2019, the post office patented or applied for a patent for a blockchain voting system. We talked about it then. But, you know, to your point, I mean, it is stunning that the Democrats are unable. Why am I unable to get anything to come up? The Democrats are unable to come up with any cohesive argument as to why Joe should be voted for other than he's not Trump. I saw some polling results yesterday, and it looked like 53% of the people who were planning to vote on Joe Biden, they were only voting for him because he's not Donald Trump. I mean, like, that's it. They hate President Trump, and they are willing to do whatever's necessary to get him in, even if it means electing someone with early onset dementia. You know, Joe Biden is going to be older than Ronald Reagan ever was when he was in office, if he starts office, if he takes office in January of 2022. He will be older than Ronald Reagan ever was. And there was a tremendous amount of speculation and attention placed on that when Ronald Reagan was running back in the early 80s. And for them to give him this pass that they've given him, I mean, it's just so transparent. You know, I mean, Joe Biden is well past his prime. The expiration date has come and gone, and his packaging is starting to peel. It's not looking good for Joe, and I am surprised that he's lasted this long. I mean, you know, I said the other day I feel sorry for him, you know, but I mean, it's not in the same way that I'd feel sorry for, you know, a normal person. I mean, it's like he is a shell of a man being propped up by this party. They're telling him that he has to do this. He carries the weight of the world on his shoulders. He's got to beat President Trump. It's a monumental task, something he's never going to be able to do. And, you know, his mind is failing him. You know, it's over. It's game over for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris was a bad decision. And there's nothing positive they can say. They can't point to anything and say, look what we did, we'll do it again, because they already almost destroyed America. And Kamala Harris has an abysmal record from her time in California. It's not going to be anything better if she gets into the vice presidential, you know, chair, and she would essentially be the de facto president. You know, so President Trump has done amazing things, and he's just going to continue to do amazing things. Now, it's not just people. It's not just people that love President Trump. We have some incredible footage here. Methods, do you want to set this up for us?
Right. Okay. We're talking about the clip that I sent you at the beginning of okay. Yeah. So a friend of mine, they wanted to stay anonymous, I guess, because it could get to the people about the video. It might very well dox them, but shout out to the friend for giving me the clip and the permission to put this out there. They sent me a clip that basically shows, and we'll let this video speak for itself, but this doggo gets it, right? And, you know, it's definitely interesting training going on there that if anybody has a dog, if I had a dog, I would definitely start training this dog this way.
All right, let's take a look.
Dakota, nope. What do you think of Joe Biden? Is there anything of Joe Biden? Dakota, what do you think of Trump? Yeah? What do you think of Trump? Yeah? Pretty good, huh? You like that guy, huh? Trump! Joe Biden. Trump. Dakota, nope. What do you think?
Even Dakota knows that President Trump is the best choice, the best candidate, and the best answer for America. Now, this federal judge in New York, you know, President Trump's tax return case, it's been ongoing for a long time. He received a bit of a win not that long ago, but now there's this federal judge has now shot down that win. And apparently it looks like he might have to hand over his tax returns. You know, I'm not particularly worried about it. I think it's an invasion of privacy. I don't think that he should be forced to do so. But you know, I mean, if it happens, let's just be honest. everybody else's tax returns are going to be on the table. I'm kind of looking forward to President Trump having to put his tax returns out there, because then, people are going to ask for Nancy Pelosi's and Joe Biden's tax returns. I mean, Joe Biden's, if we get those before the election here in 2020, I think that'll be pretty big news.
I totally agree. This comment out here about the dog from, I can't even pronounce, Kurotatsu 11 says, and I guess we could follow the Democrats' rule on this, send that dog a ballot. If they're allowing pets to vote, then we know which person that dog's going to vote for.
Yeah, definitely. Simone is outside. I keep seeing people saying, where the heck is Simone? During the summertime, Simone basically lives outside. She wants to go out in the morning if she's inside, and then she just hangs out on the porch. She sleeps in the sunshine, so I allow her to have that during the day. And of course, I'm not going to be letting her in while I'm on the air and stuff. The dogs are certainly ready for the show to end. They're starting to roughhouse, but we're going to make it through the last couple of minutes here. Now, this says the decision moves Manhattan prosecutors closer to obtaining Trump's tax returns, though it's unlikely the public will see them before the November election. The dispute over access to 8 years of Trump's financial documents, including his personal and corporate tax returns, arose after Cyrus Vance Jr., the Democratic district attorney for Manhattan, obtained a grand jury subpoena for Trump's accounting firm, Mazars USA. He's looking into payments made to silence two women who allege they had affairs with Trump, including Stormy Daniels, now before he became president. Now, this is before President Trump was president. I honestly don't care. If he paid some hush money to somebody, that's really none of my business. Extortion is never a good thing. And, I mean, why don't they charge these women with extortion if that's, what actually happened? But again, this goes back to the idea of trying to taint the public's image of President Trump in any way that they can. So, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Bring it on. Bring it on. Get President Trump's tax returns out there, and then let's see what the Democrats are doing with their tax returns, because you're going to see just, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and they're going to have to explain where that all came from.
Right. And Trump he was asked about this earlier during that same presser, and he said that as his understanding of what the Supreme Court ruled was that they can't do this as far as a fishing expedition. They need to have actual reasoning behind it, which we all know it's a fishing expedition. So it's going to be fought against. But the fact that this has already ruled and gotten to this court as far as how it's going, not having the tax returns for the election to use as far as, fodder, saying Trump's bad, this money's going here, there, other places, that's good. At least we could deal with it in the second term. But he's right. I mean, this is nothing but a fishing expedition, and it's technically not supposed to be that way.
Yep. Now, got a couple of stories to end the day. Voter fraud. First of all, there was a story about a mailman who was caught stealing Trump yard signs. He was driving around and he was caught on film going into people's yards, tearing out the Trump yard signs and throwing it into his mail delivery van. Clearly, these are not the types of people that we want to entrust our mail-in and absentee ballots to. If somebody hates President Trump that much that he's willing to steal the personal property of his supporters on his mail route, that's not a good look. And I personally don't want that person handling my mail or handling my mail-in ballot. Now, in another story in California, there's a man who has pled guilty to mail-in ballot fraud after it was found that he voted as his dead mother in 3 elections. This is one instance where a man named Cesar Peter Abutin, last month he was charged with a felony fraud of 1 count of fraudulent voting, and his mother died in 2006. He committed this voter fraud 3 times, 2012, 2013, and 2014. Now, what made him stop, I don't know, but this is the kind of thing that is going to happen on a mass scale all across the country if these, mail-in ballots are allowed and, an absentee voting, which is what I'm assuming he did because, that's what was available at that time. I'm surprised this made it through. You know, it just goes to show the lack of accountability that's in place unless you physically go to a ballot location and prove that you are the person that you say you are, and then you take a paper ballot and then you cast it. This is going to happen on a mass scale if these people are allowed to roll this out.
I totally agree with you on that. And thank you guys for helping us get to the 2,500 likes. I've been watching people in the chat asking everybody to click that thumbs up. So we appreciate you guys doing that. And then you also just had in Michigan with those mail-in ballots being rejected, right? We had over 10,000 rejected, and over 800 of them were because the voter was dead.
Yep.
You know, so this is happening. We can see it. It is that logical. Doing the mail-in ballots on a mass scale will not work. We'd have to work towards that in a bipartisan way to make that possible to where we can all trust it. So no, we just need to go vote. I saw a great point on Twitter, and I hate that I can't remember who said it, was if they said if we can stand in line and wait to get toilet paper, we can go vote.
Mm-hmm.
You know, remember that. Everybody had no problem going and doing that. You know, go waiting in line because we all had to do, remember those memes for sure. Now they're saying that we can't do this publicly, but you can go get food. You can go do all these other things, but we can't go vote in person. Dude, who's going to run the country?
You can riot.
Right. You can riot. You can protest. You know, it's not a big deal. Have thousands of people around. You can go destroy things, you know, because you're angry about something that you don't really know why you're angry about. But we can't go pick in, you know, put in our vote on who's going to run this entire thing going on. That argument, that to you should show how much of a mind control type, you know, manipulation going on through the media and what they've done, because some people do blindly listen and say, all right, well, they said it. That's the sauce I needed to hear. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. That's what we've been trying to break. Now I know that we're getting close. What else did you want to cover real quick?
I mean, that's it. I just have a couple more thank yous today. Will just said, much love, fellow patriots. Nicholas said, thank you, Red Pill and Methods, for all you do on behalf of all my family. We love you guys. Keep it up. And that was it. That is everybody's super chats. So thank you very much. Also, I saw somebody in the chat say, why was my chat blocked? I'm going to explain slow mode one more time. Slow mode is on every time we do a live stream, because if we didn't have slow mode on, everybody would be chatting and I wouldn't be able to see the chat. Methods wouldn't be able to see the chat. You wouldn't be able to see the chat. You can only put a new message in every 60 seconds, and sometimes it's longer depending on how many people are here. But no one is blocking your chat. The only reason that your chat will actually be blocked is if you put profanity or something in your chat, then YouTube blocks your chat. No one here is actively suppressing anybody, and I hope that anybody who's here who has not heard me say this before, please remember for next time. I really would appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm watching people head for the door. We appreciate you guys hanging out. I'm going to shamelessly plug the episode that we had yesterday on my channel, Methods to Madness. Yeah, appreciate it, bud. Thank you for tuning in for the time. I know you have the migraine going on. But we did our third episode, Scott and I, from Woke Societies. It went really well. We had a lot of fun. I did discuss on there the potential of doing more shows, so I am just going to spam the chat with that. But yeah, we're going to discuss more shows next week, more of a schedule going on. Obviously, I am going to stay. I don't want to hear it from anybody. We're still going to do Occam's Razor. It's going to be around that. But yeah, we're definitely going to be doing more. There's going to be new hosts that are also going to be involved on other days. So I'm really excited about it. But one more time, I'm just going to put this link out there in the chat. And thank you, Red Pill, for letting me advertise.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure. I'm glad that you got your show. Also, White Hat says he will be live tonight. Make sure that you tune into White Hat as well. And then, you know, basically, thank you to everybody for showing up today. I appreciate you guys. Another excellent episode. I will, of course, be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. And then this weekend, we have a host of live shows that we're going to be doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Also, Rachel said, I love what you do. Patriot Strong. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate your donation on Cash App. Let me see. On Friday, I have the return of Cyrus Parsa. We're going to be talking about China and AI. On Saturday, Judith Rose. Judith Rose, the former SJW who turned into a President Trump supporter and fan because she realized what he was doing. She's going to be here. A lot of people have been asking for Judith on the channel for a long time. And then on Sunday, I'm not going to announce that guest yet because I need to confirm with them. But it could be one of a couple of people. So make sure you guys tune in. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, everybody, for keeping the chat comfy. Thank you to everybody for participating. And especially thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. I couldn't do it without you guys. I want to go also back and say thank you to my sponsor, My Patriot Supply. If you guys want to support the channel and get something out of it for yourself, you can always go to the pinned comment or the description of the video to get the information to get whatever it is that my sponsor is offering on the channel. I will be back at 6 p.m. for another edition of Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Don't forget, Table of Titans tonight as well. See you guys.